G'day Internet, continuing to mock up the rear suspension and wheels and stuff. So you remember whenever I sandblasted this and I painted it? I wasn't thinking that this was messed up, but after asking the FB group on Facebook and making an ass of myself, I now know that this is messed up. This is supposed to be A, straight, and B, not have this solid rod welded in the middle. So what must have happened is this got broken somehow, potentially whenever the bracket broke off of the rear axle, and they must have repaired it straight, and then after it was repaired straight, it got jacked up on it, or something? I don't know, but the problem is that this is the wrong length now. The length is not correct, and also it's doing this into the floor, like into the car as it goes up. This is the first thing to hit, so that's a problem. This is sketchy, and I don't want to use this when I actually go to run the car. So this is a temporary measure for continuing to mock things up. I want this to be at least the correct length and at least be able to extend up the amount that it's supposed to. So we gotta bend this back. And I don't have a hydraulic press or anything to bend this back, but I do have a Mazda 6. So what I'm going to try and do, which is, it's going to be hilarious, I don't know if this is going to work at all, we're going to do some wood jigging, and we're going to put a ramp up onto this thing, and we're going to put the weight of the Speed 6 on it, and we're going to see if that makes it straighter. This is so stupid. Did we bend it too much? Is it bent back the other way now? Trusty Steve. It's doing a bit of an S-curve now, but it's probably closer to the right length. Thanks, Speed 6. So, we got our tires mounted up, and I'm very happy with how things are looking and how things are coming together. I didn't film any of this because it was boring, but I sandblasted and painted the Watts link and the links, and I put energy suspension bushings in there. It was the last linkage on the rear axle that needed energy suspension love. And so I come out to the RX7 tent today, and I smell a smelly smell. A smelly smell that smells smelly. And it's a bit of a familiar one from whenever I blew up the transfer case in my Speed 6. It smells like gear oil in here. And I look down here, and there's a puddle of some viscous goo. And this is only after I had this axle jacked up like quite high for like overnight, like a day or two, and I'm guessing it's coming out of the end there, but I really haven't inspected this yet. Yeah, we need to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, sure enough, it's coming out. I don't know what you call that. It's probably called like the pinion outer seal or something like that. I wonder if that's because it was pressurized whenever this slid in more than it's used to sliding. No matter what, that seal probably is bad. This area is very dirty. Now, would you believe that that seal isn't doing a very good job? I might. I'm not sure if I should expect gear oil to come out if I, like, remove the remnants of this. It doesn't seem to be doing much. I don't have the new one, but I did order it today. Yikes. Alright, December 17th. We're coming out here. I'm going to try and record everything that I do today, because I'm in the mood for it. So, do I still have a light down here? Or did I take it inside? I put it half inside. So I was looking at pictures of the seal that I ordered, and it includes metal bits. And the seal parts that I've removed so far are, there's no metal in there. So that is actually supposed to be somehow attached to this inner pressed in piece of metal here. So I need to remove that, and I did hit it, so I put some paper towel in here so that the dirt wouldn't get in there, and then I hit it with the wire wheel just to see what we're working with. And I'm glad that we're going to have to remove that piece of metal because it is very pitted, and that's not ideal for our sealing situation. Look at our Watts link, all nice and painted and bushinged up. And our custom exhaust is coming together back here. I'm going to hit that with some fluid film because I forgot, or I didn't forget, but this was out here in the snow whenever I did this, so I wasn't exactly thinking about corrosion resistance. So instead of painting, I think we're just going to hit that with some fluid film and let it be nice and soaked. So to get that out of there, we're going to try an attachment that I have with my slide hammer that I've never used before. It's just like this little lip thing. So we're going to try putting that on the end and giving it a whack, whack, whack and see what happens. And before I do that, I got to get the fluid container below this because we might get some goop leakage. I got all this crap down here, so I got to clean up a little bit. Uh-oh. Of course. It doesn't fit in there at all. What if we do some cheesing? Nope. Not even if we do some cheesing. Okay. Well. My thought is that if I move it in at the bottom, it'll pop out at the top, but it's pretty corroded. I could be making my life harder, but it is moving, so that's something. Thank you. Well, all the fluid already came out of it. Ooh, that's an interesting color. One thing that I think is really cool is that these, oh wow, the lighting here is god awful. The oil drain plug and fill plug use a 3/8 square drive. That is like the most friendly thing ever. And check out where it's inside the diff versus where it's outside the diff. The magic of oil. Alright, next up on this fine Saturday, I want to roll this fender because I got my bump stops installed last night. So these are energy suspension generic bump stops, and they fit on there pretty nicely. So I want to get I just want to see where things are lining up now that I'm getting things closer to where they're going to be. I still don't have my springs yet because they took absolutely forever to ship them. But what we're going to do is we're going to jack up the pumpkin, and we're going to put a jack stand under here, and then we're going to put the fender roller on this if it fits, and then we're going to roll this. Now, we are mid-flight bodywork on this thing. However, I think where I need to roll is not quite where the bodywork is happening. So where it needs to be rolled is really just at the top, where the wheel is going to be sort of getting all up in its business. But over here can stay not rolled, because that's not done yet. Good news and bad news. Good news, we rolled the fender. Bad news, my died, so you didn't get to see it. Other bad news, we fucked up the paint under here. It chipped like 100% of it off. I did heat it up with the heat gun, but maybe not enough. I didn't have any chipping at all happen on my 2010 Mazda Speed 3 whenever I did this. Maybe I should have heated it up more. Maybe it's just because it's really thick 40-year-old paint. But I already had to paint over here whenever this bodywork is done, so now I just have to get underneath here. For the most part, it's not visible from above. But yeah. Didn't exactly want that to happen, but kind of had a feeling it might. So anyway, keep that in mind. But now that that's rolled, I want to go put a wheel on here with a tire, which you haven't seen yet, I don't think. Oh, no, you have. Never mind. And we're going to go whoop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop-de-doop and see where the wheel sits and the fender looks whenever everything is all jacked all the way up on the bump stop. So, like, we're going to simulate it bottoming out. We're going to see where things are. Alright, so just set it on the bump stops down there. So I have not trimmed the bump stops at all. They kind of have, I wonder if we can see, bump stop note it hitting the axle. So it has kind of different levels, and I assume that's so that you can trim it to exactly the length that you desire. So here, this is not up high enough. It's not even close to hitting the fender. In fact, we could have not rolled it and it still wouldn't be hitting at that height. So we got to go trim the bump stops. So I think if we take 3 levels out, it probably still won't even hit. So we're going to go trim some rubber. Alright. I took off 2 instead of 3. I don't want to cut off too much. See where that lands us. That's better. Yeah, look at all that poor paint. I'm going to try heating the other side up, like, really good. Like, to the point where I'm worried about almost bubbling the paint. And then I'm going to try and roll it, and we'll see if the same thing happens. But we're screwing around with enough paint here that we'll be able to recover from that, I think. So, should I chop one more off? Maybe I'll call that good enough, and then once I start driving it around, that's a tweak that I can make if I find that it hits too often. But our regular ride height will be more than that, as steezy as that would be. And yeah, so hopefully we won't be slamming the bump stops all the time. But there is a lot more to remove there if needed. Another big part of this equation is how low can the rear springs go? Because you can only remove so many of those dead coils that I was talking about in the last video. How low is it going to be in the rear? We're going to have to throw a whole bunch of sandbags back here to get the ride height that we want? Hopefully not. So yeah, let's try and I'll record it this time, and we'll heat this side up all nice and real good. You can see some fluid film that I just kind of injected back there inside the seam where this all comes together. Felt like a nice thing to do. And for that, I guess I kind of have to get that thing on as well, because I only did it on one side. I'm aware that the lighting's not that great, and I'm sorry. There are things that I could do about it, but this thing is enough work on its own, okay? We're not a high budget production over here on the Jaws of S YouTube channel. So we need to warm this up like a lot. And it doesn't help that I'm doing this in the winter. It's like 4 degrees right now, it's Celsius. It's not that cold, but it means that as soon as I heat this up, it's just going to get sucked into the rest of the car, because the rest of the car is cold. The molecules aren't jumping around as much as they're going to be where I'm going to be doing the bending. Got a little dirty because I put fluid film inside the seam and then I squished the seam and all the dirt and stuff is coming out of there. However, looking pretty good. You can't see crap. Now the wheel can be like that, and it is not a problem. And I don't think that I wrecked the paint. Oh, my legs are on fire after that. That's our old fender. And how's our paint doing? A little spot it was rusting anyway, that it chipped, whatever. Good. So I'm just an idiot, and I did the other side while it was cold, and it chipped and exploded. So learning, I like to learn things the hard way, and that's a perfect example. All right, time to grab a wheel and check out the fit. That's all we need. Turns out that things go better when you're patient and you think. Use your noggin. Yeah, that's perfect. You really don't have to do that much of an area, like, or at least I don't, for the type of fitment that I'm going for. It really just needs to be rolled like a foot's worth right at the top in the center. So what is it? What is it? Oh, God. One really annoying thing about this tent is that these things constantly catch on my hood and just stop me dead in my tracks. Super annoying, but I'm kind of getting used to it. Maybe flipping them upside down would help with that, but I don't know. Yeah, really not my finest work. Probably sooner than later I should clean that up and hit it with a paintbrush from underneath. From up here you can't see it, but that's going to start rusting in a place where you can see it very quickly. Next day, enough screwing around, we got to get back to working on the floor and the passenger side. So I'm trying to make part of the inner rocker that kind of goes up to the front of the floor, and it is a bitch of a piece of geometry. So I decided to try some tin foil to try and get the angles mocked up. So I had this held up against the car, and I was trying to capture all of the important bits of geometry. So we did that, and then I got it put down onto this piece of metal. This was I did some trunk repair on the Speed 6 years ago, and this is, I made like a donut, and this is the inside of the donut. So we're gonna reuse this because what I'm trying to make fits perfectly inside of it. So that's nice. Feels good to reuse and get use out of random scrap pieces. Actually, this is it, I think. Why do I still have this? Did I replace the entire thing? I forget. I don't know. I wasn't very smart back then. I'm still not very smart now, but I know that you can't just use rivets. Nice. I love my cheap brake, but I hate how it doesn't let you do close alternating angles. If you want to do like that's easy. But if you want to do like bend the other way, the distance between the bends needs to be at least this much for it to be possible, or else the previous bend bends down into the base of the brake. So it's really annoying that I bought this thing, and then for simple stuff like this, I'm having to put it in the vise and like reef down on it with my hands. But, god damn it. But nothing, it's annoying. So now you're gonna watch me attempt to reef down on this and bend it. I think you can get bending attachments for vises. That might be something that I could try. So I'm trying to not unbend what I just did. It's almost like this sucks. Looks pretty clean, all things considered. I knew that was going too well. I bent it backwards. I hate my life so much. We bent it back. So everything's looking pretty good. This needs to be bent more. Alright, I think we happy. This isn't held in by anything right now, but it's meeting up with the things that it needs to meet up with. So I reckon we can probably start cleaning things up, weld that in, keep on moving. Alright, I'm almost half proud of that. Went pretty alright. Just did a million tiny little stitch welds. No, in here is not cleaned out yet. I just kind of barely wire wheeled the area that I needed to. Down here is a little bit crustier than I thought it would be. So we're going to wait until the floor pan is here and this bit is here to put a backing on that before I try and hit it from below. And give us a higher chance of success. I'd call that not bad. So if I were more skilled / had shielding gas, I would have welded a bead on top of this. But I think what I'm going to do, like, this is structurally sound. This feels just like any other part of this inner rocker. So we're just going to go over that with seam sealer after we finish the rest of the metalwork down here. And with that out of the way, it is getting super cold out right now, and there's water coming into the tent. I already soaked one pair of pants by accident by draping my legs in here. So I'm going to go inside and play some video games. This is enough work on the car for one weekend. Thank you everybody for following along, and I'll catch you in the next one.